Key point 1. Myths about ADHD limit society's potential. Have you ever wondered how many talents remain undiscovered? Unique ability to manage uncertainty and stay calm in a pressure environment. Quickness on the uptake, allowing a person to understand what others can't even imagine. Creativity that may resolve the world's problems. Or marvelous sense of humor that brings the house down. All these are strengths of people with ADHD. They need a supportive environment, self-development, and awareness about their diagnosis to realize mentioned skills. Yet, despite numerous books and programs, many still know only fragments about attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. As a result, teachers criticize pupils for being lazy and are reluctant to use willpower. Parents believe their kids will grow out of ADHD without any help. Some adults deny having this diagnosis, thinking it's only a child's condition. Moreover, a few even suppose it's a pharmaceutical company fabrication. These myths drastically complicate the lives of 5% of the population with this disorder. In fact, their effects are even more large-scale since many don't know their diagnosis. The price for this ignorance isn't only the unfulfilled potential of these people or their negative self-images, full of blame, shame, and fear. ADHD accounts for a higher risk of addiction, accidental injuries, and even crimes. Remember, uncontrolled attention deficit hyperactivity disorder may decrease life expectancy by 13 years. Dr. Hallowell and Dr. Ratey highlight that things shouldn't be this way. ADHD isn't a burden, but the most treatable disorder. Therefore, overcoming its negative consequences and tapping into unique strengths is possible. Everyone can harness this syndrome and turn it into their superpower with the help of some guidance. Are you ready to learn how to do it? Join this masterclass. Key point 2. What we usually know about ADHD's traits is oversimplified. Before we investigate ways to cope with the disorder, we need to recognize it. Often it's more challenging than it seems. Sometimes people with ADHD can't concentrate on what they do, whereas in other cases, they are super focused. They can postpone things for days and suddenly finish everything in a few hours. Their rushed decisions alternate with unbelievable solutions that save the day. We will discuss why it works this way soon, but for now, let's consider some of their distinctive features. A wavering mind. People with ADHD are naturally curious and have numerous questions about any object they encounter, and their inquisitive nature drives them to explore further. Keep in mind, the word deficit in the syndrome's name is a misunderstanding. Actually, a person with ADHD pays too much attention to various things. Unstable performance. It's especially ubiquitous with tedious tasks. Taking out the trash, they might go past containers forgetting what they should have done. Yet, when they're stimulated, they do all assignments brilliantly. Risk takers. While uncertainty stresses others, people with ADHD love it. They feel relaxed, not knowing how the situation will end up. It allows them to take risks easily. Troubles with deadlines. In essence, time flies differently for these people. They divide it into two categories, now and not now. If an assignment falls into the latter, they can do it in 30 minutes or a few hours. They won't feel the difference. On the other hand, they are constantly in the moment, which brings them excellent results. Impulsiveness and hyperactivity. Indeed, the phrase first act and then think describes their decisions perfectly. Creativity. Expressing themselves isn't a hobby for them, but a vital necessity. They don't see life without using their imagination. Strained relationships with others. They can give others the last of what they have. At the same time, they can't stand hypocrisy and may express truth rather untactfully. These features can indicate ADHD, but we shouldn't jump to conclusions. It's better to check our assumptions with a scientific test. A person may have only variable attention stimulus trait, or VAST, which has similar features but isn't a disorder. Its main trigger is the rhythm of modern life with its constant stimulation. The causes of ADHD are more profound: genes, lack of oxygen at birth, and traumas. It also may happen if a mother has drunk or smoked during pregnancy. Key point 3. How can neurons trick us? What causes people with ADHD to behave differently? The answer is the brain's functioning. For instance, when we study, certain clumps of neurons activate. They are called task-positive networks, or TPN. When something diverts us for a certain amount of time, another group of neurons, the default mode network, or DMN, comes into play. With it, we remember past events or ponder future ones. It's a source of creativity and relaxation. Usually, these networks don't turn on simultaneously. One changes the other. Yet, they pull the rope of control in the brains of people with ADHD. It means something always tries to distract them. The effects of these glitchy switches are tremendous, trapping the person in one network or another. In a DMN, the anxiety about future catastrophes increases, as well as replaying past events repeatedly. Obsessing with a TPN isn't beneficial either. People become so hyper-focused that they can't disengage from the task. A telling example is when a husband with ADHD goes with his wife to a supermarket. He gets so interested in tulips that he buys some, returns home, and plants them. When the kids ask where their mother is, he recalls he forgot her in the store. However much he loves his wife, he can't abandon planting to return for her. Indeed, catastrophic thinking or losing track of time is widespread. We can often switch from one network to another, but it's not the case for those with ADHD. The good news is a recent breakthrough, neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change to accommodate different factors. Therefore, deliberately altering usual behavior can form new connections and weaken glitchy switches. For instance, instead of letting ruminating overcome people, they should do something physically like cooking pasta or tying their shoes. This way, they channel their attention to something external. Remember, many factors change the brains daily, like having a pet, exercising, and laughing. Additionally, a person with ADHD has a smaller cerebellum, where 3/4 of the brain's neurons reside. It's also a part of the vestibular system that accounts for balance, physical and, as we recently discovered, mental. It serves as a homeostatic baseline, allowing people to eliminate erratic fluctuations in behavior and ensure mental stability. Consequently, doing exercises that increase balance, such as standing on one leg or a wobble board, juggling, and the like, can increase a person's concentration. Key point 4. The factor that increases longevity and lowers the risk of addiction. We often underestimate the importance of relationships, struggling to find time to call our family or friends. Nevertheless, these connections have transformative power, as demonstrated by the Grant study. During it, Harvard Medical School researchers followed 268 students through their lives. They've discovered that love is the most reliable factor for predicting success, happiness, and longevity. Dr. Hallowell's personal experience echoes these findings. His grandmother helped him to cope with ADHD by turning even the most tedious task into a captivating adventure. For example, peeling an egg became an expedition for finding a path toward the Golden City yolk. Finally, Dr. Hallowell overcame his difficulties and even graduated from Harvard. Love tremendously cures people with ADHD because they rarely feel that others understand them. They still resemble an invisible minority, facing criticism almost all the time. As they are susceptible to others' evaluation, each blame brings them down. Consequently, they lose psychosocial integration and spend more time alone. It increases the risk of extreme anxiety, depression, and developing addiction. Keep in mind that fear and shame are the main obstacles to the success of kids with ADHD. That's why signs of support will make a change. Alienation caused by a lack of understanding and appreciation is harmful. So how do we increase the amount of affection in life? Get pets. Their freely given love will improve your mood daily. Make family dinners a tradition. Choose your favorite cafe and visit it, saying hello to baristas. Their smiles and kind words can improve your mood. Find a charismatic mentor. Studies show that having a positive role model may play a decisive role in coping with a disorder. Participate in meetings of interest, gardening, book club, or collecting stamps. Taking part in these groups is one of the longevity indicators. Another one is how often you meet with friends. Ask relatives about your family tree. Knowing where you come from connects you with your ancestors. Call your friends at least once a week. If your kids have ADHD, explain that they can and will become champions. All they should do is work on themselves, and you will help them. A person with ADHD has the power of a Ferrari engine, but with bicycle-strength brakes. It's the mismatch of engine power to braking capability that causes the problems. Edward M. Hallowell and John J. Ratey. Key point 5. How to choose challenges that motivate. Lack of connections isn't the only factor that impedes a person's success. Another one is setting the wrong bar. It's a funny thing about those of us who have ADHD. We want what others avoid. We like problems. We need the difficult. That's because easy is boring. Edward M. Hallowell and John J. Ratey. Sometimes people spend years striving to reach the impossible. It happens to everyone, but those with ADHD have an eye for the unfeasible. This goal for them is twice as harmful as for others. Firstly, that's because of persistence. What do people usually decide when they realize the aim is unattainable? They abandon it. Knowing about glitchy network switches, we can predict what those with ADHD do. They continue to put effort. Giving something up isn't an option for them. They exhaust themselves and inevitably fail. It's a sure way to get disappointed with themselves. Secondly, reaching for the impossible harms people with ADHD because they refuse to ask for help. For instance, one businessman explained to Dr. Hallowell that his success wouldn't be completely his if someone gave him a hand. The pretexts vary, but one thing stays the same. It's a counterproductive approach. We should learn not only how to offer, but also how to receive. The balance is crucial. Keep in mind that although others teach us to be independent, in fact, no one is. We all are interdependent, and it's normal. So how do we choose the right path? People can ask themselves the following questions to reveal what would suit them. What are the activities you excel in? What 5 things do you enjoy doing? What do people praise you for? Which goals inspire you? What do others ask you to help them with? What skills would you like to improve? What can others do so that you spend your time more effectively? What activities take up much time and aren't your strengths? And what are others' misconceptions about you? These questions will help children identify their strengths. Besides, they are helpful for educational establishments. Using them will allow teachers to select group projects that interest their students. For adults, this quiz tests whether the working environment suits them. The ideal job unites passion, skills, and demand from others. Key point 6. 5 factors lay the foundation for thriving. Once a successful professor came to Dr. Ratey for advice. He had practiced running since childhood and spent hours doing it. Yet after an injury, he couldn't train anymore. That's when ADHD's features appeared. It turned out that sport protected his physical and mental health for many years. What makes exercises so powerful? They are medicines, not only metaphorically. More than any other task, sport activates nerve cells, which releases neurotransmitters, increasing dopamine and neuroepinephrine levels. These chemicals account for our attention, and their boost is the goal of stimulants and antidepressants. Moreover, training smooths neurons in the default mode network. Consequently, people can switch from TPN to DMN and vice versa more effectively. Remember, physical activity is a natural stimulant and antidepressant. Another bit of good news is that you shouldn't prepare for a marathon to experience the benefits of sport. According to Spanish scientists, 20 to 30 minutes daily is enough. Aerobic, dancing, yoga, balance training, or merely using stairs more often can improve life. Sport isn't the only constituent of thriving. The following components are also essential. Planning. By creating a to-do list, we neurologically increase tasks' importance. It doesn't matter what to choose, sticky notes, apps, or another tool. The main thing is to ensure reminders of them. Therefore, we can place the paper with 1 or 2 vital activities in a visible place, or set a few notifications about the planned activity. Nutrition. It's sound to avoid sugar in cookies, sauces, juices, and many other products. Some choices are individual, so making conclusions based on experience is better. For example, if giving up milk or gluten makes you less irritated, you should acquire this habit. Sleep. Lack of it may provoke symptoms similar to ADHD. Thus, try to ensure darkness in your room at night and turn off the phones at least an hour before sleep. Opening a window for 10 to 15 minutes to get some fresh air will also help. Positivity. Keeping a gratitude notebook and avoiding people who drain your optimism are vital. Did you know? A Harvard research has discovered that meditating for 2 months increases cortical thickness in the hippocampus. It facilitates better management of impulses. Key point 7. Risks versus benefits of pharmaceutical treatment. There are 3 pharmaceutical options for treating attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The first is stimulants. They have a high efficacy rate, 70 to 80%, and few side effects. Why do people with ADHD need them? Already being hyperactive. This medication increases levels of particular chemicals, dopamine and norepinephrine. The former boosts motivation so the patient is focused and rises to the challenge. The latter accounts for them being more awake. Therefore, it prolongs their concentration and they take in information faster. Together, chemicals help to decrease impulsive actions and distractions. Stimulants are of 2 types: methylphenidate and amphetamine. In the former case, dopamine will be higher than norepinephrine. Scientists consider this option slightly better for children and teenagers. Another pharmaceutical option is stimulant-like drugs. They also raise levels of dopamine and norepinephrine, but do it differently. On the one hand, their effects are longer, a massive advantage for those who forget to take the medication in time. Besides, they have no abuse potential. On the other hand, they aren't as effective as stimulants and possess more side effects like nausea or insomnia. Dr. Hallowell calls one more category of medicines outliers, as they don't fall into other types. They have a calming effect, decrease anxiety, and sharpen focus. Similar to stimulant-like drugs, this medicine doesn't trigger abuse. However, it may significantly lower blood pressure, so people should give it up slowly to avoid hypertension and a fast pulse. The main problem with medicine is dosage. Doctors can't ensure their patients are taking the correct amount. Nevertheless, addiction among people with ADHD who take stimulants happens rarely. Another pitfall is genetic testing to select medicine. It's harmless but doesn't provide much helpful information. Besides, it's expensive. Remember, go easy on supplements. The regulation in the USA isn't strict, so the market is full of dubious products. In essence, the variety of medicines increases the chances of finding the ones that provide patients with fast and significant results. At the same time, people should always consider the risks of offered medicine. While pondering the pros and cons, they can ask themselves a few questions. Do I make the most progress from non-medical treatments? What are the effects of the disorder on myself and the lives of loved ones? Have I found enough information about medicine from reputable sources? Conclusion. ADHD can be a gift or a burden, depending on how people manage it. Fortunately, it's now the most treatable disorder, and science provides numerous tools for limiting its negative consequences. Many ways are non-medical, like connections, balance training, healthy nutrition, and enough sleep. Another vital factor is a positive attitude. Anytime people blame themselves for awkward behavior, they can repeat, "All I need is to strengthen the brakes of my inner Ferrari." It's also helpful to reframe the situation. Treatment is actually unwrapping inner gifts. People with ADHD have enormous creativity, a sense of humor, inventiveness, and immunity to pressure. If they handle the power they possess, they will reach extraordinary results. Many inventors, Navy SEALs, entrepreneurs, and even some Pulitzer and Nobel Prize winners have this syndrome. It hasn't impeded their success. ADHD empowers people to see opportunities where others see only problems. The story of a man we call Bob is a telling example. His family's phone number resembled the one of a rug cleaning company. His relatives were sick and tired of getting frequent calls from customers. But teenager Bob used it to his advantage, offering help to those who accidentally phoned his number. That's how his cleaning business started. It provides more than enough money and stimulates his creativity. Recently, he's come up with his first patent. Self-development requires time and effort, but revealing an inner superpower is worth it. Try this. Keep a diary, writing down which techniques are helpful and in what way. Find public people with ADHD whose examples inspire you. Learn more about how they manage their disorder. And take a few psychological tests to understand your strengths better and choose the challenges that benefit you.